This episode is adapted from a clinician-written article on Mentalyc and brought to life in audio for therapists who prefer listening on the go.
I love that we're doing this. It's so much easier to soak this stuff in while you're driving or, just taking a break between sessions.
Exactly. And this piece was written by Ihab Yusuf, a psychologist, and we're just really excited to feature their perspective here.
Yeah, it's a great topic. Really timely.
It is. And just for a little context, since the article comes from Mentalyc, it helps to know it's a platform designed to make clinical documentation more manageable for therapists, which we can all relate to.
Oh, can we ever? Don't even get me started.
Right? It actually makes me think of, that moment, right? You're in a session with a kid, maybe an 8-year-old, and they're not talking much. Instead, they're just intensely focused on drawing, and you get this drawing of a family, but one person is way off to the side, and there's a big scribbled storm cloud over their own figure.
I know that exact moment. The air gets really still, and you feel like you're seeing something incredibly important, something they can't say with words.
Exactly. It's this profound nonverbal communication. And in that moment, you're completely present with them. But then later, you're sitting in front of your computer and the cursor is just blinking and you think, how on earth do I document that? How do I turn that powerful symbolic drawing into a clinical note that actually captures the weight of it?
You've just perfectly described the central challenge of child therapy notes. It's not just about what was said. So much of the data is in the play, the art, the body language, the shifts in energy. How do you document a sigh or the way a child suddenly sits up straight when you mention their dad?
And how do you do it without it sounding, overly interpretive or flimsy? You want to capture the objective observation. Child drew a figure separate from the family group, but also the subjective feeling in the room, the child's own narrative about it. They might say, "That's me, I'm over here." And that quote is pure gold.
That's the core of it, isn't it? The fusion of objective and subjective. You need both for a comprehensive picture. It's not just client appeared anxious. It's client spent 5 minutes repeatedly smoothing the fur on a stuffed dog, avoiding eye contact when discussing school. When asked how they felt, they whispered, "My tummy feels like a washing machine."
Yes, that's it. The washing machine. That one little phrase is more valuable than 10 clinical adjectives we could come up with. But here's the problem, right? In the moment, you're focused on the therapeutic alliance, on holding that space for the child. You're not thinking about your note. And then hours later, you're trying to recall that perfect golden quote, and it's fuzzy.
It's so fuzzy. Or you remember washing machine, but you forget what came right before it, the trigger. And that context is everything. It's what helps you build the narrative of their progress. It's the thread. You lose the context, you lose the thread.
Exactly. The note has to justify the medical necessity of continuing care, even through those regressions. It has to tell the story of the process. Child presented with increased defiance today, which appears related to the upcoming anniversary of a family trauma discussed last week. This regression is a predictable part of the therapeutic process as we approach this sensitive material. That tells a story that protects you, the client, and the therapy.
And it honors the child's experience. It's not just child was bad today. It's child's behavior is communicating something vital. But again, this takes so much mental energy to hold all those pieces. The drawing, the quote, the parent's report from the waiting room, the treatment goal it connects to. It's a lot.
It's a huge cognitive load. And I think we have to be honest about how that impacts us. When you're constantly in the back of your mind trying to bank these details for your notes, are you 100% present? I know I've had moments where a kid says something amazing, and part of my brain goes, "Ooh, that's a good one for the note." And I hate that. It pulls me out of the moment.
I I'm so glad you said that. Me too. It feels so clinical in the bad way. It breaks the connection. And this is where I've actually found some of the new tech to be surprisingly helpful. Like, I was skeptical at first, but using an AI note taker, like the one from Mentalyc, has been kind of a game changer for this exact problem.
Okay, so walk me through that. Because my first thought is, another piece of tech. How does it actually help with, say, the kid with the drawing?
Okay, so this session happens just like it always does. No tech in the room, nothing between me and the child. Afterwards, instead of sitting down to a blank page, I just talk. I do a brain dump of the session. I'll say, okay, we started with the check-in. He seemed withdrawn. Then we moved to the art table. He drew his family. He put himself way over on the side, put a big scribble over his head. I asked him about it, and he said, quote, "This is the angry buzzing," unquote. His shoulders were hunched. I just narrate the session from memory with all the messy human details.
Okay, so you're verbalizing it while it's fresh.
Exactly. And the tool drafts the note for me from that. It takes my chaotic, rambling summary and structures it into a proper DAP or SOAP note. It pulls out the direct quote. It notes the objective behavior, the hunched shoulders, the drawing details, and it organizes it so that little gem, the angry buzzing, isn't lost. It's right there in the subjective section, perfectly captured.
Okay, I can see how that would be powerful. Because you're not translating, you're just recounting. And the cognitive load of structuring everything, of finding the right clinical language is handled. Does it feel like your note? Does it sound like you?
That was my biggest fear. But it's customizable. It learns my style. And I always review and edit it. It's a draft. My clinical judgment is the final step. I might add a sentence to the assessment or rephrase something in the plan. But the bulk of the work, the capturing and organizing, is done. It frees up my brain to focus on the meaning of the angry buzzing, not just the task of typing it out.
That makes sense. You're shifting your energy from transcription to analytics. And that's where we're most valuable. Our job isn't to be a stenographer. It's to be a clinician who sees the patterns. And it's hard to see the patterns when you're just trying to keep your head above water with the paperwork.
Oh, completely. And think about the other part of this, the parents. So often we do a quick check-in with a parent or caregiver before the session. They'll say something like, he had a really tough week at school, got into a fight on Tuesday. That's a critical piece of information. It contextualizes the entire session. But it's so easy to forget to put that in the note when you're rushing.
Absolutely. The parent collateral is essential. It's part of the comprehensive picture. A good note includes the report from the parent, the observations of the child in the session, the child's own words, and then your clinical assessment that ties it all together. It's a four-part harmony, and if one part is missing, the whole thing feels off.
A four-part harmony. I love that metaphor. And it's true. Without the parent's report, the child's angry buzzing drawing might seem to come out of nowhere. With it, you see the connection instantly. It helps you build a case for the treatment plan. You can write, per parent report, client engaged in aggressive behavior at school. In session, client expressed feelings of anger through symbolic artwork. Plan is to continue working on emotional identification and regulation skills using art therapy techniques. Boom. Golden thread.
There it is. And it's defensible. It's clear. It shows your work. This also touches on the legal and ethical side of things. Our notes are legal documents, and in child therapy, that can be especially crucial. If there are custody issues or school meetings or, heaven forbid, a court case, your notes are your record of care. They have to be impeccable.
It's so true, and the thought of my notes being read in a courtroom is terrifying. It really raises the stakes. You want them to be objective, behavior-focused, and free of jargon, but also rich enough to tell the true story of the child's journey.
It's a tightrope walk. You don't want to write something so sterile that it misses the point, but you also can't write, I have a hunch that the child is angry at his mother. You have to ground it in observation. When mother's name was mentioned, client threw a toy against the wall and said, I don't want to talk about her. That's evidence. That's a note that stands up.
Right. Show, don't tell. It's like creative writing, but with, immense legal and ethical implications. No pressure. But again, being able to just verbally download the show part, what you saw, what was said, and have a tool help with the tell part, the structuring, it makes that tightrope feel a lot wider.
I'm starting to really see that because it also helps with consistency. Your notes from week to week would have a similar structure and level of detail, which makes it so much easier to track progress over time.
Quick pause here. If this whole struggle with documentation, with that cognitive load we were talking about, feels familiar, Mentalyc can help. Its AI note-taking supports your documentation and your clinical judgment, all while staying fully HIPAA and SOC2 compliant. You can explore it at Mentalyc.com, Mentalyc.com.
That idea of tracking progress is so key. I had a client, a young teen, who was dealing with some pretty intense social anxiety. For months, it felt like we were stuck. The parents were getting frustrated, the client was feeling hopeless. The notes just kept saying things like, client reports continued avoidance of social situations. It was discouraging.
Ooh, I've been there. That feeling of stagnation is so tough for everyone involved.
It really is. But then, one day I was preparing for a meeting with the school, and I had to review about 3 months of notes, all at once. And because I had been detailed, almost without realizing it, I started to see a pattern. In the first month, the note said, client refused to leave the house. In the second month, they said, client went to the grocery store with mom, but stayed in the car. And the third month, client went into the store for 5 minutes before needing to leave.
Whoa. That's not stagnation. That's huge progress. It's incremental, but it's undeniable.
It was undeniable. But we were also focused on the end goal, going to school and hanging with friends, that we were missing the victories along the way. My detailed notes, even the ones that felt repetitive and discouraging at the time, became the evidence of her bravery. I was able to create a chart, a visual for her and her parents. Look at what you've done. And it completely shifted the narrative. It reframed everything.
That gives me chills. That is why we do this. And that's why the notes matter so much. They aren't just an administrative burden. They are a clinical tool. They are part of the therapy itself. That progress tracking is everything. It's a way of holding up a mirror to the client and saying, look how far you've come.
And for us, too. It helps us fight off that compassion fatigue or that feeling of ineffectiveness. When you can look back at the record and see the real, tangible movement, it refuels you. It reminds you to trust the process.
Absolutely. And it informs your treatment planning. You saw that pattern, and I bet it changed what you did in the next session. You probably celebrated that win and then set the next small, achievable goal. Your notes allowed you to be more attuned and effective. And I know some of these systems, like Mentalyc, even have features that help you with treatment plans and tracking progress against specific goals, which connects all the dots.
And it makes reporting to insurance or other stakeholders so much easier. It's not just a feeling. You have the data. It moves the conversation from, I think they're getting better, to here is the behavioral evidence of improvement over the last quarter.
Which is what they want to see. It also makes me think about the end of the day. You've seen, say, 3 or 4 kids. Your brain is full of Legos and sand tray stories and feelings and drawings. And then you have to switch gears and write these precise professional documents. The whiplash is real.
The whiplash is so real. You go from speaking in a soft, playful voice and sitting on the floor to needing to sound like a doctoral level clinician. It's a massive code switch.
It is. And if you're trying to do it all from scratch, you're exhausted. And you're more likely to write a note that's just good enough. Something that checks the box but misses the richness. It misses the washing machine or the angry buzzing. And then 3 months later, when you need that detail, it's gone forever.
That's the real cost of documentation burnout. It's not just that we're tired, it's that the quality of our clinical record suffers. And when the record suffers, our ability to see patterns, track progress, and even remember key moments suffers too. It ultimately impacts the quality of care.
I've never thought of it in exactly those terms, but you're so right. The quality of the note is directly linked to the quality of care over time. Wow, that feels like a really important takeaway.
It's a big one. It reframes note-taking from a chore to a core clinical competency. And if it's a core competency, then we should be using the best tools available to do it well, just like we use the best therapeutic modalities.
Right. We wouldn't use a therapeutic approach from 50 years ago without updating it. So why should we be stuck with documentation methods that haven't evolved, especially when they burn us out and compromise the richness of the record? And then there's the final piece of the puzzle, just getting the note into the EHR.
Oh, the copy-paste nightmare. Or the retyping. You finally write this beautiful, comprehensive note, and now you have to perform the digital gymnastics to get it into the official system of record without messing up the formatting.
Exactly. And I saw that Mentalyc actually has a feature now where it can transfer the note to your EHR with a single click. And I just thought, finally, it seems like such a small thing, but those 5 minutes multiplied by every client every day, that's real time. That's time you could use to, I don't know, breathe?
Or prepare for your next session, or go to the bathroom. It all adds up. It's about reducing the friction, the little annoyances that drain our batteries throughout the day. The less time you spend fighting with technology, the more mental and emotional energy you have for your clients.
So, if we were to boil this all down, what's a practical takeaway for a therapist listening right now? Someone who works with kids and is feeling that documentation dread tonight.
I think it's this. For your next session, set an intention to capture just one thing perfectly. Not the whole session, just one thing. Maybe it's one direct verbatim quote from the child. Or maybe it's a detailed, objective description of one piece of their play. Child lined up 5 animal figures, then used the T-Rex to knock them all over. Just one concrete, observable detail.
I love that. It's so manageable. Don't try to boil the ocean. Just capture one drop of water perfectly, and then write it down immediately after the session, while it's fresh, before you do anything else. Build the habit of prioritizing the capture of that one golden nugget.
Exactly. Start there. Because once you get in the habit of looking for and recording those specific concrete details, your notes will naturally become richer and more useful over time. You're training your brain to notice and value the evidence.
That's such a great, grounded piece of advice. It's not about finding a huge chunk of extra time. It's about being more intentional with the time you have. It's about making the notes work for you, instead of you working for the notes.
Precisely. Let the notes be a tool that illuminates, not a task that exhausts. And if technology can help with that, then it's worth exploring.
I completely agree. And if you want to streamline that whole process, from capturing the details to getting them into your system, the automated note generation and EHR transfer in Mentalyc are designed to do exactly that. Reduce the friction and give you back your time and energy.